This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Football Night in America studio. Ahmed Fareed filling in for Maria Taylor. I got from Pro Football Talk Mike Florio to my left. To my far left, the coach, Jason Garrett, to talk about another crazy week in the NFL. Week 8, almost in the books now. Let's start with the one team that we have left that is undefeated, Coach. It is the Philadelphia Eagles. At this point, I guess it's not a surprise when they keep winning. The question is, how long is this going to go? Because from your eyes, is there a weakness on this Eagles team right now?
We've been banging this drum all year long. They're the most complete team in football, and I don't see a weakness in them. On offense, they can run it, they can throw it to different guys. The quarterback seems awfully comfortable running the system. On defense, they can rush. 6 sacks again this past week. They take the ball away. They can cover on the back end, and they find ways to win differently every week. Different guys step up to make all the plays, and it's a very complimentary football team right now, and teams win. They're the best team in the league for me.
You know, Coach, they've matched the best start ever in franchise history at 7-0. They did that back in 2004, the year they lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So they've got a short week game against the Texans. 8-0, most people are going to assume they'll get there. I spoke to Jalen Hurts, the star quarterback, after the game, and he was as modest as he could possibly be in saying that he believes the team is taking on his personality and his attitude, and he takes no opponents lightly, and he takes it one week at a time. Coach's son has all of those cliches that became cliches for a reason, just kind of drilled into his DNA, and he's leading, and the rest of the locker room is following.
Well, and he's lived that throughout his career. Well documented, was at Alabama, then Tua takes over, goes to Oklahoma, and he's mentally tough enough to make whatever circumstance he's in better. And he comes in. Carson Wentz was the quarterback when he was drafted, and he found his way in there, just played and played well. They make the decision to move on from Wentz, and in any situation he's in, he prepares himself to be his best, and he's a good example to his teammates, and that's why they're playing the way they're playing.
Mike, not a surprise that they're good. I think a lot of people thought they'd be good. A.J. Brown here, they've had the pieces, they're building them, they've had that draft capital. But how much better they are than the rest of the NFC. I mean, you could make the argument they have the best offense and the best defense in the conference. Would you agree with that at this point?
I don't know that it's the best of both, but it clearly is, as Coach was saying, the most balanced. Yeah. And in a league where you don't have the cap resources to have a great offense and a great defense, you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. They go out and they trade for Robert Quinn last week, which sends a message to the team that they're willing to do whatever they have to do to try to push this thing over the top. And got 18.5 sacks last year, a Bears franchise record. Not as great this year. You put them in that rotation, it's like they were in 2017 where they had 8 guys they could just keep bringing in over and over again. They won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, and I think the organizational decisions they made over the last few years, starting with Jalen Hurts, but it's Slay, it's Bradbury. They get Reddick this year. They draft the big nose tackle from Georgia. Now it's Robert Quinn. It's just they've done a really good job. Devontae, AJ. I mean, these are cornerstone pieces on their team. These decisions they've made the last couple of years, and it's elevated them to be the best team in the conference, maybe the best team in the NFL.
You speak of the division. That's probably the best division in the NFL right now. The NFC East, because you got the Giants who've been winning games, and probably, but you also have the Cowboys, who are, at this point, I don't think surprising anyone with how they've started out this year. That defense has been dominant. Wasn't as dominant against the Chicago Bears, but I guess it doesn't matter when you can score 49. And are they starting to look more complete to you?
Well, yeah, I think so. Now that Dak Prescott's back and he's knocked off some of the rust, I think it was smart to get him back in there for a couple of games. Now he's got a bye week, and then the Packers and the Vikings are on this tour of the NFC North. But this is where they need to be, and at some point there's going to be a round 3 looming with them and the Eagles, and they got to be ready for that, and they got to be able to match the most balanced team in the NFL with as much balance as they can muster.
Yeah, and they were balanced in this game against Chicago. If you think about their rhythm this year, they have the bad loss against Tampa opening week. Dak gets hurt, and then Cooper Rush, their backup quarterback, allows them. He goes 4-1. Dak gets back, kind of knocking off the rust last week. I think this is what you're going to see from this offense going forward. It's really kind of they're together. Zeke's going to come back in a couple weeks. They have a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. They play together. They get that rhythm going. They're going to be a tough out as the season goes on.
How are they going to play on offense when Zeke comes back? Because he was out in this game. Tony Pollard went off, and he showed his explosiveness. What do you think they do there?
I think they use both of them.
Still.
And Tony Pollard's a guy who's a very good space player, but he's shown that he can run inside as well. Zeke's a guy who can just hammer a defense. And not a lot of people think that's real sexy, but what happens is defenses say, hey, we still got to stop number 21. We're going to load up the box, individual coverage outside. It benefits everybody else. It also keeps Pollard fresh as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Even though Jerry Jones was saying after the game that the offense still runs through Zeke, it did look pretty good without him. They can get through a few weeks without him, but I agree with you. They need to have him healthy and effective when we get into January, when we get into the postseason. It looks like they're going to be there.
For the San Francisco 49ers, that offense has run through Deebo Samuel the past couple of years here, but that may be changing before our eyes. They traded a lot to get Christian McCaffrey, and so they used him a lot in this game against the Rams. It was a close game, Coach, as we were talking about, late into the third quarter, but then the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey gives them an offensive weapon that they have. I'm not going to say that they haven't had, because Deebo has done a lot of this stuff too, but he threw for a touchdown. It's the first time since 2005 I was reading on Pro Football Talk that a player has thrown for a touchdown, has run for a touchdown, and has caught a touchdown. How much better does he make the 49ers, Mike?
Well, look, there was no question he was going to make them better offensively, especially at that running back position, but with all the things he can do. The real risk is when you give up those 4 draft picks, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, and you're going to pay the guy a lot of money, you need to be confident he's going to be healthy. That's the one big question mark, because that position is conducive to injury, and it looks great for now, but it can all change like that, and that's really going to be a question going forward.
And that's been the story for him in his career. When he's been healthy, he's been elite. He's been as good an offensive weapon as there is in the NFL, but he's been banged up a little bit. So can he stay healthy going forward? I do think they'll use him in a way where he's not going to have too much of a physical burden. They're going to throw it to him. They're going to hand it to him. He might throw it a little bit as they go forward. So they'll use him a lot of different ways, get him out in space. His versatility is key for them going forward.
So would this be the top 3 for you? Cowboys and Eagles there, 1-2. Eagles 1, Cowboys 2, and then 49ers 3 in the NFC?
Well, I think that sounds right, but that team up in Minnesota is 6-1. And it's hard to win games in the NFL, and they're figuring out how to do it every week. And I still think they're getting comfortable on offense. You see them play really well, then they have some quiet moments, but at the end of the game, they're figuring out a way to win as a team, and to bag some of those wins early on in the season, it's critical.
One of the big themes in Minnesota this year, Coach, is chemistry. Zadarius Smith, who had 3 sacks today of Kyler Murray, was talking to me about that after the game, that they believe in each other. They feel good around each other. You know, last year the vibe was a little different under Mike Zimmer. It was very negative, and the players had kind of had enough of that. It's the exact opposite this year, and the players are playing for each other. And it's an intangible that becomes tangible, where you have that faith in the guys you're playing with, that somebody's going to make a play, that somebody's going to come through, that somebody's going to do something to make a difference late. And it's going to be a different look every week, but somebody's always going to deliver, and I think that gives them confidence. So they've got some tough games coming up. They got the Bills in a couple of weeks. They got the Cowboys. They got the Patriots on Thanksgiving night. It's going to get tested against better teams. Can they hold it together in the clutch and make a play?
I wasn't planning on talking about the Vikings yet, and who knew it was going to be Coach that brought him up into the conversation. But I think that's kind of the way the year's gone for them. They've been an afterthought for a lot of people, but you really can't do that anymore with the Vikings, who look like, they're going to run away with that NFC North division at this point. What about the NFC West and the Seattle Seahawks and what they keep doing with Geno Smith? They knock off those tough Giants this week. So, Coach, the Seahawks, are what we seeing, is this real? Are they in the conversation for one of the best teams?
To me, it's one of the best stories in the NFL. You think about where Geno Smith was and where he's been the last few years. He's been an afterthought. People saying, is he even still on a roster somewhere? And he's kind of banging away, refining his craft, and then he gets an opportunity to play up there. And credit Pete Carroll. Some people say they only won because of the Legion of Boom, right? Then it was because of Russell Wilson. Now, this whole thing has changed dramatically over the course of his tenure in Seattle, and now he's got him winning again with a different cast of characters. And you talk about the culture piece. That's what he's done everywhere he's been. And believing in guys, instilling belief in them, that's the story of Geno Smith, and it's paying dividends for them on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, relentless positivity. And I think the big difference maker for them is Ken Walker, the third, the rookie running back. I see Adrian Peterson 2007 with Ken Walker, the size, the speed, the explosion, everything. I think he's going to have a 200-yard game pretty soon. It's in him. It just feels like it's ready to come out. And they're getting better That's the key. They're 5-3, but they're getting better every week, and that will serve them well as we get into crunch time.
And there was talk in the offseason, too, with DK Metcalf. It's like, do you want to stick around here? Do you want? And they all did. And they saw something in this team, and now it's paying off. All right, speed round time. I have a feeling that we're going to get some overlap with some of the stories we've talked about already. But let's start with the best story of the first 2 months of the season. Mike, let's start with you. Your best story of the season so far.
Well, and I come at this from the perspective of what I do all the time, and that is maintain a website that produces stories and content that fans are interested in.
So traffic is up.
Traffic is up. Traffic is up anytime the letters TOM space BRADY are typed. I mean, everything about this Brady thing, on the field, off the field, it's been compelling. It's real-life drama. They say that the NFL is the ultimate reality show. I mean, it has been the ultimate reality show all season long with Tom Brady, and you throw in this element of the guy who has had everything go his way, his career. It's starting to show wear and tear. But I'll tell you what, I've been saying this ever since they lost to the Ravens the other night. They get into the playoffs, they're going to be dangerous. Because there was something I saw in Tom Brady, fourth quarter, when they're trying to come back, when they're down 11, you see the close-up of him. He's still Tom Brady in the clutch. And they're going to be a tough team to beat if they win that division, and I expect that they will.
Yeah, best story, and I think you came up with the most compelling story, the most dramatic story, on and off. Here's this iconic player. He literally is the guy. He's the first face you chisel on Mount Rushmore. If you're saying the best players of all time, he's the guy. He's the guy. And to have him have this somewhat dramatic fall so far to the season, it's hard not to watch it and follow it and be intrigued by it. I keep going back to this, though. I think they were 7-5 his first year down in Tampa, and everybody was saying, oh, boy, what a mistake he made leaving New England. And all of a sudden, he kind of rallies them and gets them going, and they win. They get in the playoffs, and we know what happened from there. So I know it's different than that. It's been hard for them all year long. But don't bet against those guys. There's a lot of football to be played, and he's the best that ever walked. And he's gotten the best out of people throughout his career. So I still think they kind of get it together. The division isn't great right now. And you said it. Once they get in the playoffs, they're going to be tough to beat.
All right, I love that answer. That was super informative. My producer is telling me in my ear it was not worthy of speed round. Great, compelling answer. So we're adding music. We're adding music right now just to keep the pace going. It was a great answer. I liked it.
That spooky, scary Halloween music?
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah, it'll freak you out if you don't go faster for this. All right, most surprising story of the first 2 months of the season, Tom Brady. All right, now next one. Oh, no. Most surprising story.
I'd say it's a combination of the Broncos not getting what they thought they were getting in Russell Wilson and the Colts just disintegrating with Matt Ryan. Now, who knows what they'll be with Sam Ehlinger, but to make the decision so quickly to just cast off Matt Ryan, that was a stunt.
For me, the story is Green Bay, Tampa, and the Rams.
Yeah.
3 elite quarterbacks. I thought they were going to be there at the end of the season. I thought they were going to be battling to be the best team in the NFC, and they're all struggling mightily at this point. But again, I bet on these guys, not against them. There's a lot of football to be played.
I feel like the music is keeping the pace going here a little bit. So I think you just mentioned this NFC South, only division with 0 teams above 500 right now. Falcons currently leading at 4-4. Mike, who's your pick to win that division?
I think the Buccaneers end up winning it. And, you know, the Falcons had that roughing the passer game with Grady Jarrett, and who knows, they may have beaten the Bucs that day, and it would be a little different. But I think the Bucs get that day.
Yeah, same. I think the Bucs get it together, and they win down the stretch.
I don't know. Keep your eye on the Saints there. Saints defense look a little better against the Raiders. I would throw them in there. Keep it moving. Second-year quarterbacks. Oh, this one. I was going to ask you about this before, but I wanted to hear it live here. The second-year quarterbacks. It was supposed to be a really good quarterback class 2 years ago. You got Trevor Lawrence struggling a bit with the Jaguars. You got Zach Wilson, 3 interceptions. Trey Lance, haven't seen him a whole bunch. You got Justin Fields starting to show some signs. You got Mac Jones. You got Davis Mills. Are any of those quarterbacks the long-term answer for their team?
I think every one of those guys deserves an opportunity to prove that they are. I don't think you can make a decision quite yet on them. Certainly Trevor Lawrence, I think he still has the opportunity to be an elite quarterback in this league. We haven't seen enough of Lance. We've seen a lot of positive things from Zach Wilson, Justin Fields coming around. I just think each of those guys, you say, hey, continue down this path. Let's see more of them, and we'll make that decision as we go. I don't think any of them you say, we got to move on.
Yeah, it is too early. I like what Justin Fields is doing in his second year. If they tailor the offense to suit his strengths, as we've seen the past couple of games, more designed runs, more leaning into what he does well. Feel bad for Trey Lance, not just the injury, but the extra pressure that comes from being the guy that they trade up to get. They invest ultimately 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick in one. That's a ton of pressure on him. And the problem in the NFL, if you wash out in that first opportunity, you become Geno Smith, where you're just kind of in the wilderness and you wait for the next chance. It may never come.
All right, last one. I feel like this is not like speed run music anymore. Like now it's like a chase scene or something like that. Last one. Blank should make a trade for blank. The trade deadline is Tuesday. You'll read all about it on Pro Football Talk Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Well, I think the Bills should make a trade for one of these available running backs. Jay Glazer reported earlier today that they called the Saints about Alvin Kamara, but were rebuffed. Kareem Hunt is available. Cam Akers is available. Jeff Wilson Jr. is available. They're trying to get something out of James Cook, the rookie, Dalvin's younger brother, but that feels like something the Bills are missing that could really take their offense to the next level.
Yeah, I think the Packers should trade for Jerry Jeudy. Ooh. You know, he's a young receiver there in Denver, and he's got a lot of upside. I think he's the kind of weapon that Aaron Rodgers wants and needs right now.
Men, well done. Happy Halloween. Trick or treat. We've got a lot of news on the website coming this week. Jason Garrett, Mike Florio, Maria Taylor dressed up as Ahmed Fareed. Spooky. Thanks for watching Week 8. It was crazy.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.